And the convener of the Gupkar Alliance, Mohammad Yusuf Taregami of the CPIM, has spoken exclusively to India today. He's given details of the Gupkar Alliance's agenda. He says, and I quote, "Our demand will be restoration of pre-August 5, 2019 system in Jammu and Kashmir." This meeting was called by Prime Minister. It's happening too late. Warranties provided by Constituent Assembly to the people of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh have been withdrawn without following the act, unquote, is what Mohammad Yusuf Taregami, the convener of the Gupkar Alliance, has said. But as far as the Bharatiya Janata Party is concerned, on more than one occasion, the government has made it very clear there is no re-looking or going back on Article 370 or 35A. That ship has sailed. So in about 2 hours from now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to chair this very crucial all-party meeting with leaders of Jammu and Kashmir. So 3 p.m. is this meeting. Union Home Minister Amit Shah, Union Minister of State in the Prime Minister's office, Dr. Jitendra Singh, and the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Manoj Sinha, are at the Prime Minister's office for this meeting. Now, along with the Prime Minister, leaders who are likely to attend this meeting. Apart from this, the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, he's flown back from Dushanbe after the SCO NSA's meet for this meeting. He could also be a part of this. Government has invited 14 leaders from Jammu and Kashmir belonging to various political parties. Among the invitees are, of course, former Chief Ministers Farooq Abdullah, Mehbooba Mufti, other leaders of mainstream parties, both from Jammu and from Kashmir.
It could be first thaw in the bitter standoff between the centre and the political parties in the valley.
अनुच्छेद 370 के सभी खंड लागू नहीं होंगे सिवाय खंड 1 के नामक तदनुसार पढ़ा जाएगा.
For the first time after the dramatic steps taken in 2019, the warring Kashmir parties will sit across the table at a meeting called by the Prime Minister on Thursday. The decision by 4 former Chief Ministers, Farooq, Mehbooba, Omar and Ghulam Nabi Azad, to hold a dialogue with the Prime Minister has given a glimmer of hope on Jammu Kashmir's future. The Prime Minister's all-party meeting is likely to focus on the delimitation exercise in Jammu and Kashmir, but it will also give the Gupkar Alliance an opportunity to put forth its demands.
प्राइम मिनिस्टर से मिलने जा रहे हैं, जो मुल्क के प्राइम मिनिस्टर हैं, नेचुरली पूरे खुले मन से जा रहे हैं.
हमें उम्मीद है कि हम अपने जो मौक़िफ़ है उसको वहाँ पे वज़ीर आज़म साहब और होम मिनिस्टर साहब के सामने रखें.
The Jammu-based leadership too expects to gain, although there is a feeling that the Prime Minister's meeting has a more valley-focused agenda.
बिल्कुल हम कहते हैं कि ये अदर देन पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज इस तरह के ग्रुप जो ऑलरेडी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया जिनको किसी न मुख्तलिफ रूप में कंसल्ट करती रही है, ऑन बोर्ड लेती रही है, और उनकी बड़ी बात भारतीय जनता पार्टी वोट लेने के लिए तो करती थी, तो उनको सुना जाना चाहिए था जिस तरह से राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस कांग्रेस पार्टी करती आई है.
एक मन से, एक भाव से, समभाव से आ रहे हैं और सभी इस बैठक का हिस्सा बनेंगे, अपना अपना पक्ष रखेंगे.
Thursday's all-party huddle is the first major political outreach by Prime Minister Modi after the scrapping of Article 370 and splitting of the state into 2 union territories.
वज़ीर आज़म साहब, अगर कोई रास्ता है कि लोगों की उमंगों को, जो लोगों को ठेस लगी है 5 अगस्त 2019 को, अगर उसको किसी तरीके से उनके उन जज्बात और एहसासात को थोड़ा सा मलहम हो जाए, वो देखा जाए. वो हमारी स्टेटहुड जो सबसे पुरानी रियासत थी इस मुल्क में, उसे बहाल किया जाए. हमारे डेमोक्रेटिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस को इमीडिएटली डेमोक्रेसी वहाँ बहाल की जाए, इलेक्शंस हो.
What is clear is that the meeting is aimed at resuming the electoral process in Jammu and Kashmir after the completion of delimitation exercises. It's also an effort to remove the trust deficit between the valley and New Delhi. But the road to peace and stability is full of challenges. While the level of violence has reduced in Kashmir, incidents of terror continue almost on daily basis in the valley, with policemen and citizens coming under attack. Still, from Srinagar to Jammu to Delhi, all eyes will be on the Prime Minister's meeting. Can it be the icebreaker that Jammu and Kashmir desperately needs? That's the big question. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let me now quickly cut across to India Today's Akshita Nandgopal, who brings us details of what the Gupkar Alliance wants. They want a restoration of pre-August 5, 2019 situation. What else? Let's take a look.
The Gupkar Alliance has confirmed that they too will be a part of the all-party meet chaired by the Prime Minister today. And there are several issues where their stand is the complete opposite to the government. For example, on Article 370, the Gupkar Alliance have made it very clear that they want the restoration of Jammu and Kashmir's special status. What about the issue of statehood for Jammu and Kashmir? Again, they've made it very clear that they want restoration of statehood. On the issue of Pakistan, and this is perhaps the most controversial stand, they've time and again been very vocal about the fact that they want the centre to resume talks with Pakistan.
Ghulam Nabi Azad will also be a part of this meeting. He'll be representing the Congress party. I want to bring in Anand Patel for more on this. Also with me is Aishwarya Paliwal from the Jammu and Kashmir House and Paulami Saha from the 7 Lok Kalyan Marg. Anand, as far as the Congress is concerned, it's a nuanced stand that they've taken on the road ahead. Bring us details.
Well, Gaurav, on Tuesday, the Congress Party's committee on Jammu and Kashmir had met under the chairmanship of Congress President Sonia Gandhi. It was attended by Dr. Manmohan Singh, former Prime Minister, and also former Union Minister P. Chidambaram, along with the leaders from J&K, Ghulam Nabi Azad and Ghulam Ahmed Mir, who happens to be the PCC chief in J&K. 3 representatives from the Congress party will be there: Ghulam Nabi Azad, Ghulam Ahmed Mir, and also Dr. Tara Chand, who happens to be the former Deputy Chief Minister. He represents the Jammu region. The Congress party in its meeting had resolved that it's a welcome step that the government has initiated talks, and they see it as a positive outcome of the days and weeks of negotiation which went by with the leaders of Jammu Kashmir region. And also the Congress party feels that this is a step forward towards undoing the wrong committed by the government in August 2019 when the people were deprived of their constitutional rights of a statehood, and also the principles on which the state of Jammu and Kashmir were formed. The Congress party believes that though this meeting has no specific agenda, but it feels that if the talks are held on restoring the full statehood of the Jammu and Kashmir, that will be a welcome step. Also, Gaurav, I must tell you that the Congress party leader, Digvijay Singh, had picked up a controversy when he had talked about reconsidering the restoration of Article 370 if the Congress party is voted back to power. The Congress party, interestingly, is tight-lipped on that issue.
Very interesting, very, very interesting. And stay with me, Anand. We'll talk about this in greater detail. Congress party wants restoration of statehood, but does the Congress party want Article 370 back? That's the tightrope walk. But there's another big story that's coming in, and India Today's Kamaljeet Kaur Sandhu joins me on the latest. She's been speaking to her sources both in the Gupkar Alliance and in the government, and Gupkar Alliance wants restoration of Article 370 and 35A. Mehbooba Mufti's demand that prisoners be released as a confidence-building measure. Does that also include those who are in jail as under trial for corruption, serious corruption cases? Also, sustained dialogue. She also wants dialogue with Pakistan. Now, the newly founded J&K Apni Party also keen on restoration of statehood. People's Conference wants restoration of pre-August 5 and a long-term engagement with the people of Jammu and Kashmir. The BJP wants the return of Kashmiri Pandits to the valley and return with dignity. Parties to demand immediate election and return of statehood. I quickly want to cut across to Kamaljeet Kaur Sandhu for more on this. So, Kamal, the Delimitation Commission has just had a meeting with all the district collectors, understanding the topography and the population density. But how long before that next step is taken? And you've been speaking to all stakeholders. Bring us what's going to happen. What will be on the agenda on during these talks?
See, the all-party meet is an important meet considering that this is happening nearing the second anniversary of August 5. All Kashmiri parties more or less are on the same line that there should be restoration of pre-August 5, 2019 status, which is that the status of statehood should be returned back. Article 370 and 35A, which was taken away by the centre, should be done. And we all know that the centre stand on this is very, very amply clear, that there's no going back as far as this historic move is concerned. Yes, they have other demands like confidence building measures, release of prisoners. We all know there have been at least certain moves. Naeem Akhtar of PDP, who was under house arrest, he was let go of. Sardaj Madni, who's a relative of Mehbooba Mufti, again as a goodwill gesture, the centre had moved on and he's been released from the Public Safety Act. Meanwhile, Wahid Para, who's the PDP youth president, his bail hearing is coming on the 29th of June. So clearly some steps have been taken by the centre, but it obviously means that the Kashmiri parties want much more. They also want that on the lines of what has happened in Ladakh, that they should be ensuring that jobs as far as economy or things are taken care of. But importantly is what a BJP state unit wants is Kashmiri Pandits should be brought back to the valley. Now we've been told by our sources since the application of Article 370, only a handful of these Pandits have returned back. And now there is a concern that they should be brought in with safety and dignity. Since the PM, the PM care and PM's own institute is concerned, I remember around 3,700 Pandits have come back since 2010 and only 1,100 are working. So they want that number to be increased. There should be confidence in the Pandits. But before that, they have to ensure, and we've seen the number of attacks going up in Kashmir Valley once again, especially in Srinagar. All that has to be brought in.
That's a very important signal that terror is still alive. It may be down, but yet not out. Stay with me. I also want to cut across to India Today's Pooja Shalis. She's been keeping a hawk eye on all developments, both in Jammu and in Kashmir. And Pooja, bring us details of the Prime Minister's Mission Kashmir 2.0.
So it is Mission Kashmir 2.0, but importantly, there are two different stands being taken. One by the government looking at elections now as a Naya Kashmir, and one the old leadership and their stand. So what is the difference? First, the Gupkar Alliance, which is the Kashmir-based netas, they want to restore Article 370, but we all know clearly that is not on the agenda. Government has already said they're not going to go back on that historic decision. Again, the Gupkar Alliance has demanded a full statehood. The government has said they are looking at it in the future. Home Minister Amit Shah has said that there is a possibility that the statehood will return to Jammu and Kashmir. Gupkar Alliance's demand, release the separatist netas who are still behind bars. The government stand is that for now, this is not part of the agenda. So what all will these Kashmiri netas going to say today? What will the Jammu-based leaders say at the meeting to the Prime Minister, to the Home Minister, to the NSA? And what will the government respond?
Very, very interesting. For the moment, Pooja, many thanks. I also want to cut across to India Today's Aishwarya Paliwal. Aishwarya, you're at Jammu Kashmir House. Our leaders, both from the valley and from Jammu there, is there a common meeting ground, or the BJP leaders from Jammu, is their agenda completely different? What details can you share?
Well, Gaurav, you rightly put it. The leaders from BJP, their agenda is very different, and they in fact have moved on. They have gone to the BJP headquarters from here. From what we are understanding at the moment, however, there are internal meetings which are taking place in the J&K house because all the leaders are trying to be on the same page. There are so many issues which everyone wants to put across, but the leaders are understanding that they have limited time with the Prime Minister. They might not have this opportunity once again, might not get it in future. And if that's the case, then every leader is wanting to be on the same page. They want to present a united front. But even though they want to do that, we are seeing how fissures are there between one leader and the other. What all talks will happen, that strategy at the moment, Gaurav, is being devised inside the J&K house.
For the moment, Aishwarya, many thanks. Jammu and Kashmir. Now, there is a feeling that Kashmir gets the lion's share and Jammu is treated as a poor country cousin. I once again want to bring in Pooja Shali for more on this. Pooja, is the Delimitation Commission likely, expected or looking at addressing this imbalance?
That's right, Gaurav. One of the mere criticism coming in from Jammu was always about inequality of not getting desired seats. Jammu has 37, Kashmir has 46 seats. If the delimitation is now agenda of the meeting, it is going to be huge, specifically for Jammu region. Why? The discussion on delimitation exercise in J&K is definitely a top priority for the government. It could restart the political process in the Union Territory. It will again redraw the constituencies, and once that process is completed, elections can be organized, taking all parties on board before holding elections. This time, the government wants to appear that they are taking into account what the politicians of different parties have to say specifically in J&K. Delimitation depends on topography, population change, census, and therefore will be very crucial for upcoming elections. Over to you, Gaurav.
Pooja, for the moment, many thanks. Now, ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's biggest political outreach to Jammu and Kashmir, political leaders, Congress leaders from Jammu and Kashmir have also met to chalk out their strategy for this all-important all-party meeting. Ghulam Nabi Azad, Ghulam Ahmad Mir and Tara Chand, they met to discuss the Congress's view that is to be presented at this high table. The Congress party's leaders from Jammu region, meanwhile, have criticized this huddle, alleging that the centre was selective in its invite and only selected people had been called from Jammu and Kashmir. The Congress accused the centre of ignoring Jammu-based groups and Kashmiri migrant pundits. The Congress said the centre should have invited political groups, more political groups from Jammu, instead of focusing only on Kashmir.
देर से आया दुरुस्त है, लेकिन डायलॉग का सिलसिला ने शुरू किया और ये कांग्रेस की सोच थी कि डायलॉग के जरिए ही कहीं चीज़ का हल होता है। आज इस सरकार ने महसूस किया कि वो सोच की आज ज़रूरत है, समय की पुकार है। छोटे छोटे भी दल यहाँ पे हो, उनको भी ऑन बोर्ड लेना चाहिए था और मैं समझता हूँ कि ऑलरेडी देर काफ़ी हो चुकी है। भाजपा की तरफ से जो हमेशा दावे यहाँ पे करती थी, कहीं कहीं टाइम फेस होती दिखाई दे जा रही है। तो अगर अपनी पार्टी, जिनका जन्म भी थोड़ी देर पहले यहाँ पे हुआ, अगर वो बुलाए जा सकते हैं तो दूसरे लोगों को मन में कोई शंक शुबा ना रहे, उनको भी ऑन बोर्ड लेना चाहिए।
देखिए, बिल्कुल दुरुस्त बात है कि जब आप पॉलिटिकल पार्टी से बात करने जा रहे हैं, आपने बड़े अरसे के बाद इनिशिएटिव अगर लिया है, तो वो तमाम राजनीतिक दल जो कि राजनीतिक दल हैं, रिकॉग्नाइज्ड रजिस्टर्ड पार्टीज हैं, नेशनल पार्टीज भी कई जो हैं जिनका ज़्यादा आधार जम्मू में है, उनको छोड़ा गया, क्योंकि भारतीय जनता पार्टी नहीं चाहती कि जम्मू से और कोई रिप्रेजेंट करे।
क्या एजेंडा होगा कांग्रेस पार्टी का, क्या स्टैंड होगा, क्योंकि लगातार
तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब ने देना है।
अच्छा,
हमारे हिसाब से जम्मू कश्मीर के 1,30,00,000 लोगों का जो गम गुस्सा है, सदमा है 5 अगस्त 19 को लेकर कि हमारा स्टेट बाइफरकेट किया, डाउनग्रेड किया, हमारी इंसल्ट हुई, पहले उसकी बहाली के लिए मेरे ख्याल से एक जन जम्मू कश्मीर का चाहता है कि आज की मीटिंग में
पॉइंट वही होगा।